Hello everyone, this is part 33 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Dojutsu, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The civilians watched as Shinobi ran across the streets of Konoha going into different stores and shops. They all seemed to be in a real rush as orders were being made for weaponry and the sort. Some people seemed confused by it all, but they watched as some of the genin were running with the Chunin as well. Do we have any orders, Kakashi-sensei? Kiba asked, running through the streets, and Kakashi nodded his head while patting Kiba on the shoulder. Yes, we do. We're going to be going to the Shinobi shops to gather our weaponry. Hokage-sama has asked us to take stock of all current weapons while he and the other clan heads have a meeting. Stay on your toes, Kiba, as training is going to be more serious now, Kakashi said, and Kiba could honestly agree with him as he wondered just how this was going to go. With Naruto, the blonde quickly made it back to the Hokage mansion and put on his Hokage robes. He had given most of his orders, but now he had to plan lots of things. It would take a lot of work, but he would need to get it done. It didn't take long before an Anbu dropped to the ground behind him on one knee. Naruto-kun, do you really think this is a good idea? Yugao asked, taking off her mask, and the blonde turned around to face her. He told her to rise, and rise she did before he placed his hand on her shoulder. Honestly no, but I'm not letting them have their way. Also in that respect, Yugao-chan, I have a request for you as a mission, Naruto said, and Yugao nodded to her boyfriend's request. Meanwhile, Shizune and Kurenai came through the doors slightly huffing from the long distance, but quickly stood in front of Naruto. Kurenai-chan, cancel all appointments for the next week. Shizune-chan, I'm not tolerating any interruptions for this meeting. If someone has to see me, then inform me. Are the clan heads ready? Naruto asked, and both nodded to his words. Yes, Naruto-kun, everyone is waiting for you at the meeting room. Please hurry, Shizune said, and Naruto nodded his head as he left the room, but not before Kurenai across the cheek as well as he left. With Haku, the brunette medic Kanoiki quickly arrived in the hospital only to see Kasumi talking to a nurse about her discharge before seeing the dog girl turned around to Haku's appearance. Haku-san, you seem to be in a hurry. What's the matter? Kasumi asked with her tail wagging around. Haku slightly huffed, but quickly told Kasumi all the information that was discussed in the Forest of Death. Naturally, Kasumi was surprised by the invitation of war, but she quickly got over it. Alright, thanks for the info, Haku. I'll be going back to the compound, Kasumi said, leaving the hospital, and Haku watched as she ran off while a smile came across her face. Nurse, bring all the medical staff together. Naruto-sama's order along with Shizune-sensei's orders. We're going to be very busy, Haku said, and the nurse immediately nodded before hopping to her feet and ran off to go and tell the others the news. Haku sighed and brushed a hand through her hair. Looks like I'd better get some more research done. It'll be busy. Akatsuki base. All the Akatsuki members came together for their little meeting while Pain told them all the news of Konoha's war with Taki. All the members were surprised at the news, especially Orochimaru. Kikuku, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, is quite amazing. Going to war at his age, Orochimaru said, and Deidara snickered. I bet I could blow him up without breaking a sweat, he said, and Kisame snickered slightly. He placed his sword on his back and turned to Deidara. Well, too bad. You're not going. Conan, Sasori and I are going. Maybe next time, Blondie, Kisame cackled, and Deidara growled at him before huffing while Kakazu turned to their leader. Pain-sama, is this a good idea? We're telling the world about Akatsuki already. Were we planning to wait for another year or two? Kakazu asked, and Pain nodded his head while closing his eyes. If Taki wins, then they're willing to turn over the Nanabi Jinchuriki. It was the most plausible decision, he said, and Sasori sighed while speaking in a gruff voice. Conan-san, Kisame, we'll meet in 3 days at the destination. Be sure to be there on time. I don't like waiting or making people wait, he said, and the two nodded their heads while Sasori left, and the same was said for the others as they left before only Pain remained. He looked back at the large statue behind him and closed his eyes. Kyuubi Jinchuriki, you might have gotten over your head. This will not bring about peace, but I will. I'll do it, he said before vanishing out as well. with Yugao. The purple-haired Anbu was currently hopping along the rooftops of the village as she saw shinobi clattering with civilians about the war. The civilians were naturally surprised as well, but it was time to get serious. It was then that Yugao spotted her mission and dropped to the ground. Tenten-san, Yugao asked, making Tenten turn around. She stared at the Anbu woman for a little bit while Yugao looked her up and down. Yes, Anbu-san, she asked, a little nervous. No Anbu had a reason to be seeing her, so this unsettled her a little bit. Yugao sighed with a smile and folded her arms. Gather your female friends. I'm also going to gather mine. Naruto-sama has suggested that we train you for the war. So meet me along with your friends in training ground 31, Yugao said before she quickly left to go and get some things done. Tenten watched her leave before putting on her shoes and running off to go and get her friends. Yugao continued to trace the streets, and before long she stopped in her favorite blacksmith. Her sword was starting to show scars from all the recent missions she had been in, and she needed to have it repaired. She opened the door and smiled while a man showed his face to her. Are Yugao-chan looking to repair your sword again? He asked, and Yugao nodded her head. That's right. Oh, and I'll take you up on that offer for having my sword upgraded with chakra resonance, she said, and the man stopped as he turned to her. It's true that I did offer that, but you know how dangerous that stuff is. May I ask what's the change of heart? He said to her, and Yugao gave him a solid glare. Is war a good reason? She asked, and the man widened his eyes to her words. With Sasuke and Itachi, the two Uchiha brothers were currently walking into the woods with Sasuke staring at Itachi's back. He raised an eyebrow as to where his brother was leading him. He sighed greatly while Itachi snickered. Easy, Sasuke, we're almost there, Itachi said, and Sasuke merely nodded his head, not really seeing the big picture to this hidden location. If you say so, Sasuke said, and before long Itachi stopped at a waterfall. He grinned and patted himself on the back. He still remembered this location, so that was good. He didn't know if he did or not, but it seemed that it was the case. Sasuke stared at the huge waterfall while Itachi climbed the rocks. He beckoned for Sasuke with his hand, making the Uchiha follow him. Soon Itachi disappeared behind the falls, and Sasuke widened his eyes as he saw lanterns pop up around the cave. Itachi guided his little brother through the cavern, and before long Sasuke saw an altar. He looked at it, and there was a place where a kunai was supposed to go. Itachi, what is this? Sasuke asked, and Itachi glared at it before turning around. He stared at Sasuke and lightly frowned. This is the place for the Uchiha clan's summoning contract. I'm kind of happy that you didn't sign the contract with the snakes. You would want to have an Uchiha summon, wouldn't you? Itachi asked, and Sasuke nodded his head, although it was somewhat hesitant. We had summons. What animals were they? Sasuke asked before Itachi clapped his hands together and bowed. Sasuke, bow to the altar. It will be a sign of respect to get in with the crows, Itachi said, and Sasuke raised an eyebrow. The same type of crows that you use, right? He asked, and Itachi nodded, though it was after a smile. Well, I'm really the only Uchiha who uses them, since most find the crows to be weak as compared to the other more powerful summons, but they're perfect for me. I'm sure they'll be perfect for you, Itachi said, and Sasuke sighed. So do I give these birds some birdseed or something? Sasuke asked, which earned him a jab in the head by Itachi. Sasuke, respect. The crows are more powerful than you might think. Now bite your thumbs and trace B over this seal, Itachi instructed, and Sasuke did just that before they felt someone behind him. Oh, so this is the Uchiha summoning grounds, Genma said, making the two turn around. Genma-sensei, Sasuke said, and Itachi folded his arms. It's not really supposed to be hidden. I talked with Hokage-sama about it, and he said it was alright before we left the forest. Something you need help with, Genma-san? Itachi asked, and Genma shook his head before pointing his thumb back. Itachi and Sasuke stepped out of the cave to see three Anbu kneeling to Itachi. It seems people want to learn from the greatest Anbu of all time, Genma said, and Itachi edged his head to the side. But Kushina-sama's not here, he said, and Genma chuckled with a nod before shrugging his shoulders. Alright then, second greatest Anbu of all time, he said, and Itachi sighed. He rubbed his head and lightly closed his eyes, but nodded anyway. Sasuke signed the contract. I'll be right back. Remember to respect them, Itachi said, walking off, and Sasuke watched him leave. He sighed and looked back at the altar. Sasuke quickly dripped his bee over the altar and watched it glow. Soon his world changed around him and it was dark. He could hear the calls of multiple crows while the Uchiha narrowed his eyes. So another Uchiha, huh? Someone asked and Sasuke narrowed his eyes. He remembered Itachi's words about respect and bowed. I'm Uchiha Sasuke, the next head of the Uchiha clan. Thank you for meeting me. Sasuke felt like he could choke on those words. He hated having to be polite to those he didn't really know. It really irked the Uchiha to almost no end, but he had to put up with it. We know who you are, Uchiha. At least some of you still retain your manners. Unlike your father, a rather large crow said, and Sasuke glared lightly at the ground, remembering his father and his coup against Konoha. I apologize for anything my father might have done to you, Sasuke said politely, and the crow narrowed his eyes. The sins of the father passed to his sons, huh? Very well. Just like Itachi, you shall atone for your father's sins against our clan. Take a kunai and ess it through your heart, the crow said, and Sasuke widened his eyes to his words. Oh, this was going to hurt and he wouldn't like it at all. Uzumaki Namika's Inazuka compound. Kasumi came through the door and watched as Yugito and Fu were relaying instructions to most of the members. Some people were busy training with their partners, while others were being assigned to various duties around the village by Naruto. It was really a trying time. Fu, Yugito, what's going on? Kasumi asked, and before long Kushina came down the stairs. Haku must have explained it to you back at the hospital, but we're going to war. That includes you, Kasumi. I'm going to be training both you and Fu, so we'd better hurry up and make it right. Yugito says that she is going to train with Yugao, so I'll leave her to that. Tayuya and Kimimaro is at the barrier division relaying some more orders. Understood, Kushina-san, but where are Kanari-san, Nana-san and Ni-san? Kasumi asked, referring to Kyubi, Nibi, and Nanabi. Kushina smiled at the names before she pointed to a small temple-looking building in the back of the house. They are in there, discussing some things at the moment. I wouldn't disturb them, but how is your body right now? Kushina asked, and Kasumi responded by doing a backflip and landing on her feet. She smiled while her tail wagged around. It's just fine, Kushina-san. Well, since we're all training, then I think I'll get to work as well. Any Kushina-san, would you and Fu help me for a minute? Kasumi asked, and Kushina raised an eyebrow before nodding her head, even if she had no idea on what Kasumi could actually want. With Naruto, council room. Naruto and the clan heads were all busy. Hiashi and Shibi were given the jobs of maintaining civilian safety. Shikaku was Naruto's strategist for the time being and soon was in charge of the military along with Naruto. Naruto decided not to have Sasuke or Itachi attend as the Uchiha heirs only because they still needed to be situated for the time being. Chūsa and Inoki were to report the strange happenings from Taki to Naruto, and so they were all gathered. What's Taki's military strength? Naruto asked and soon turned to him. Based on what? She asked, and Naruto sighed. He looked at the overall map of Taki's region, and while it wasn't nowhere near as large as Konoha's land, but he pointed to the direct spot of Taki. Can they actually take on Konoha? Naruto asked more accurately, and Shikaku spoke. Not directly. We're one of the great nations for a reason. If Taki wanted to try anything with Konoha, then they would need to try something that we wouldn't expect, Shikaku said, and Naruto grumbled. Alright, so would mercenaries be in that list? He asked, and Shikaku definitely nodded his head to that. Naruto leaned back into a chair and took a thinking pose. Everyone watched him for a second, and Naruto sighed. If that's it, then, wait. Why does Taki want Fu anyway? They were our allies, they shouldn't care that we have her anyway, Naruto said, and everyone glanced at each other. Maybe they didn't want to share her with any of the countries, just like us. Don't you think? I wouldn't put it past them to try that. Most of the other nations did that as well, Chūsa said, and soon couldn't help but agree with him. Or maybe they're taking her so that Konoha doesn't grow stronger. Think about it. On the off chance that they do defeat us, then they will have established their power in Hai no Kuni. They wouldn't really need Fu-san for a long time, right? Hiashi asked, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. Shikaku, what is the probability of Taki hiring Akatsuki? Naruto asked, and the entire room fell silent. A group of S-rank criminals hunting the Bayou while a country is offering one to them if they win. That would be the best reason ever to join. Not to mention Akatsuki was a mercenary group for hire by anyone who had the rule of a Bayou. Other than Kisame, Naruto didn't really know anyone still in Akatsuki. Well, he knew Itachi, but the guy wasn't a part of Akatsuki anymore. So you're telling me we have Akatsuki to deal with now? Inoki asked and Sume sat down. The fact remains that Taki can't fight us, by itself. It has lots of allies though. Takagakure has allies in Kuma no Kuni, Yama no Kuni, Sora no Kuni, Sume no Kuni, Yu no Kuni and Shimo no Kuni. Yu no Kuni is one of our allies as well as Kuma no Kuni. I don't think they would go to war against us as well, Sume said, and Naruto sighed again. Are we looking at another great shinobi war? He asked, and everyone glanced at each other. It might escalate to that, but if we can deal with them and a few of their allies, then it won't escalate that much. Still, there is a reason why Taki is so bothersome, Shikaku said, rubbing the back of his head, and everyone knew what he was getting at except Naruto. You're referring to Taki's use of the hero's water? Hiashi asked, and Naruto leaned up. Shikaku nodded his head while the blonde stood to his feet. What is the hero's water? Naruto asked, and everyone glanced at each other one more time before turning back to Naruto. The hero's water, Hokage-sama, is a water that is produced from the largest tree in Taki. It drops water every year or so and Taki collects it. They say that the power contained in the hero's water allows a shinobi to more than multiply their chakra output by 10 times. However, in exchange for this power they will deplete their life force by the number of times that the chakra was increased, Shikaku answered, and Naruto groaned. Well, that's just perfect, isn't it? Naruto asked himself in thought while sighing. I see. Well then, I think I know just the type of strategy we should use. I think Shikaku-san would like this as well. If this works out, then I think I know just the way to take Taki down before this becomes a shinobi war. But in order for this to work, then it's going to require myself, Fuchan and Itachi, Naruto said, and everyone raised their eyebrows to Naruto's choice, but once the blonde told them his idea, everyone grinned like mad, except Shibi for the obvious reason. Uzumaki Namika's Inuzuka compound, nighttime, basement. Are you sure about this, Kasumi? There are other ways of getting stronger, Kushina said, taking her brush and drawing over Kasumi's silky skin. The daughter of Kuromaru smiled with a nod while Fu drew seals on her legs. Yes, Kushina-san, this might be the best way for me. Don't worry. My body is naturally stronger, she said, and Fu snorted. Rub it in, why don't ya? She said, making the other two females giggle at her jealousy while the two sealers continued to draw over Kasumi's body. Kasumi, in turn, closed her eyes and decided to relax for a bit. Hey, someone called, and Kasumi squinted. You might want to wake up now, it said, and Kasumi opened her eyes. She was no longer in the basement of the compound, but she was in a garden with breezing wind making her hair flow to the side. She looked around and sighed, but then turned around to see a figure with white hair flowing down her back along with a white GI shirt and what Kasumi could figure to be ceremonial garments. The woman smiled and patted the ground before sitting down. Kasumi narrowed her eyes for a bit, but she could tell that the woman meant her no harm, so she sat down. Are you the one who called me? Kasumi asked, and the woman nodded her head. That's right. I did call you. Do you know who I am? She asked, and Kasumi shook her head at the beautiful woman. She didn't realize that said woman could hear her thoughts and chuckled. I don't think I'm that beautiful, she said, and Kasumi widened her eyes. How did you know that I was? The being raised up their hand and Kasumi stopped her talk while said woman coughed. Yes, well, that's an ability of mine. Kasumi, I am the light, the woman said, and Kasumi edged her head to the side following Naruto's little habit. What light? She asked, and the woman shook her head. Not light. I'm called the light. A being. A real person, or rather I'm Kami's power given a human form as well as a beast mode, the light said, and Kasumi raised an eyebrow. You sound like you're a Bayu, Kasumi said, and the light chuckled at her while shaking her head. She could definitely understand her caretaker's reasoning, but she wasn't like them. No, not at all. I guess you could think of me as one, but I'm not one. A Bayu is the product of the Rikido Sennin's power of yin release and yang release. I'm a product of Kami's power, the light said, and Kasumi's eyebrow twitched. Can I call you something other than the light? It's confusing, she said, and the light shrugged her slender shoulders. She didn't really care either way about what her name was called so long as she was able to say what she wanted. I don't mind, she said, and Kasumi nodded. She folded her arms and her legs while her tail wagged left and right as Kasumi tried to come up with a name. Well, since you are called the light, then I'll call you Tsukasa. Simple as that. Is that all right? Kasumi asked, and Tsukasa merely nodded her head and sat down a little more. It's fine. Now Kasumi, I must explain these things to you. Pay attention and refrain from asking questions until I'm finished, Tsukasa said, and Kasumi nodded her head. So Tsukasa told Kasumi all the things that Reiga, Yugisa, Tyron and Fukun told Naruto. How Kasumi was randomly selected by Kami to carry the light. How Naruto is on his way to receiving the fifth and final sword. She was also told about Sato no wanting him to get his hands on her for fear of it disrupting the delicate balance of nature. Kasumi listened to it all calmly and withheld her questions. It seemed to be a lot to take in for her, but she was able to understand most of it. She was made as the carrier for Kami's light. It has been this way for 1,000 years. She explained that Kasumi could now use her powers to fight with her amazing taijutsu skills. When she was finished, Kasumi scratched her head. I see, well, that's certainly a lot. So Naruto-sama has really acquired the other swords, and if we're together then we can see Kami because of the swords and you? Kasumi asked, and Tsukasa nodded. That's right. It's a really honor-eyed suspect, but until Naruto-san gains the fifth sword, Sira, then he won't be able to see her, and even then I don't think both of you know the full procedure to do something like that, Tsukasa said, and Kasumi slowly nodded her head, though she was sure that she didn't understand everything that there was to understand about it. Still she went with it. So my taijutsu doubles if I use your power. I'm not gonna go evil, am I? Kasumi asked, and Tsukasa chuckled while shaking her head. No, of course not. You'll be fine. Granted, you will have a more than serious look on your face as the use of my powers invokes such an expression. I have no idea why, but it just does that. I will teach you to control my power as best I can. If you don't learn, then I fear you may overwhelm yourself with it, and that will ultimately KO you, Tsukasa said, and Kasumi gulped. She was just a dog, why did she have to have this pressure? Kasumi sighed and rubbed the back of her hair. Something about this wasn't right, but the idea of being like Naruto almost made this whole thing so much fun. It would be amazing, but then a question came into her mind. One that would either upset or please her. On the answer. Will I still be able to have children with Naruto-sama? This won't cause an issue, will it? Kasumi asked, and Tsukasa lightly blushed at the mentioning of children, but shook her head. Well, I don't see why humans reproducing would be an issue. It's certainly not one that I would really care about. You might be fine. Granted, you having children with a Jinchuriki as well as the carrier of the light should really produce some amazing species, but ultimately don't worry. You will be fine, Tsukasa said, and Kasumi breathed a sigh of relief. Tell me, why do you want children so badly with him? You're 14 by human years and dog years technically. You shouldn't be thinking about that for another 10 years. Tsukasa said, and Kasumi nodded her head. I just love Naruto-sama a lot. More than enough, plus I've always wanted to be a mother. Sum-san told me that dogs are born with a caring attitude for the young. Most who are my age, but not half humans, are already mating and have children of their own. I'm probably the only one who doesn't. It's a little saddening, but I know I'll get there someday. Kasumi cheeky smile, and Tsukasa responded by shaking her head at her carrier and sweet dropped. Yes, well, that's great for you then. You might want to go now though. Those two women are contacting you, Tsukasa stated to her, and Kasumi widened her eyes before she started to fade. Am I going to see you again? Kasumi asked, and Tsukasa smiled. I'm sure you will, but I'll always be around. You'll see, Tsukasa said before Kasumi world faded out. Outside the mindscape, Kasumi opened her eyes while Kushina and Fu were looking at her with concern in their eyes. Kasumi just passed out on the floor after the sealing was administered, and it really worried them, but when they saw her wake up, boy were they relieved. Ugh, how long was I out? Kasumi asked, and Kushina chuckled. About 3 to 4 minutes. More or less. Are you alright? She asked, and Kasumi quickly nodded her head. She rubbed it lightly while getting to her feet. I feel like I took one of Tsunade-san's punches, Kasumi said before she heard a voice. I have that effect on people, Tsukasa said, and Kasumi widened her eyes. Telepathy, huh? Oh, she was going to be weird for talking to herself like she was talking to Hikari. So that's what you meant, Kasumi spoke in realization while Hikari nodded, though she couldn't see it, but that was fine with her for the most part. Well, I did say that I would be in contact with you. Did you forget that already? Or are you just getting short-term memory loss? Tsukasa asked and Kasumi snorted. Don't gotta be mean about. Sheesh, she said and Tsukasa laughed for a bit before ultimately being quiet. Well Kasumi, as far as I can see the seals worked really well. I think I did a good job, right Kushina-san? Fu asked and Kushina nodded her head while grinning. That's right. So Kasumi, try to stand, Kushina said and Kasumi did so. She immediately watched as she was pulled to the ground and growled. She stood back up, but the strain on her legs was very heavy. She lightly cursed before ultimately getting up. Alright, thanks Fu-chan, Kushina-san. The gravity seals are on, Kasumi said and the two girls nodded their heads. Once Naruto told Kasumi that he was going to use gravity seals, then she resolved to use them also for increasing her own taijutsu skills. It seemed to work for her. Right now she was only at 5 times gravity since she had the stronger body. Naruto was at 6, but had only started at 2. He would go up another set soon, she figured. Alright, I'm going to go and train. I'll see you all in a bit, Kasumi said, leaving the two behind while Fu and Kushina waved goodbye to her as she thanked them for their hard work. With Toby, the masked man was currently in a field looking over Sato as he examined the son of Kami. He really didn't think that he'd be able to control a god, but he also knew that this was only possible because Sato didn't have all of his power. He knew that if Sato did get his hands on whatever this light was inside of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's dog companion, that he might be able to break from the control of the Sharingan. What to do with you? I already made Taki fight Konoha by telling them where the Nanabi Jinchuriki was, and as expected, they would fight a great nation just for a Jinchuriki. Well, she's going to S anyway, so it's all not really my problem. Still, this might help me achieve my goals. When I combine all the Bayu to form the Juubi, then maybe I'll take the light into myself as well. With that I'll be able to activate my Suki no Mi plan. Not even the Jinchuriki will be able to surpass me. No, why stop there? If I take the Kyuubi Jinchuriki swords, then I'll be able to see Kami herself. That's it, I'll take control of Kami and she'll be my servant. I'll make a new world. One where all are united under my rule. No one will oppose me. Not the cage, not the Jinchuriki, and definitely not Kami, but that still leaves the enactment of the light's removal. Being next to 3 Jinchuriki might be a little tough. I'll have to find some type of plan, Toby said to himself, and before long he remembered something. Something important. Something that would shake Konoha again, or maybe even worse. Yes, I'll go with that and you'll help me. Won't you, Sato? Toby asked, looking at his S while Sato merely nodded with his soulless eyes. It was then that Toby turned his head to the sleeping female on the ground. I guess I'd better break Kobayashi out also. That fool's little mutt won't leave me alone if I don't do something. I bet he'll just go back to Orochimaru. I'm not sure, but Orochimaru, you made something interesting. The third curse mark stage. It will serve my plans splendidly right along with Kobayashi, Toby said before Ayaka yawned and opened her eye. Where are you going? She asked, seeing Toby turning around. Calm down. I'm going to go and get your mate. It won't be long now. Besides, he can't be too hard to get, Toby said before being sucked into a wormhole while Ayaka and Sato watched him leave. The two stared at each other while Ayaka rubbed her head. A soulless puppet, huh? How long has it been since I mated with Kobayashi? Ayaka wondered to herself before shaking her head, dispelling the simple notion in her head. At Hozukijo, Toby appeared on a wall and grinned. Kobayashi had just been administered to the prison yesterday, so it shouldn't be too hard to find the guy. He quickly went across the entire prison to hear people and groaning about their torment. He turned down a hall and easily silenced a passing shinobi. People heard the noises and watched Toby pass through the prison. Yo, Ni-chan, get me out here. I'll make it worth your while, someone said, but Toby didn't have the time to be negotiated with and simply wanted to keep up his little plot. He looked through the cells for a little while and before long he stopped at seeing Kobayashi leaning against the wall with one leg propped over the other and a toothpick in his mouth. Enjoying the prison life? Toby asked and Kobayashi's nose flickered. Too damn quiet. So are you going to remedy that or what? Kobayashi asked, smirking, but he couldn't judge Toby's look from behind his mask. Sure, I'll remedy that, but you're going to have to help me out, Toby said, and Kobayashi sighed as he rubbed the back of his head. Oh really? Well, that's fine and all. What do you want? He asked, and Toby held up 3 fingers. 1. You are not going after the Kyuubi Jinchuriki or Sume Inazuka without my orders. You will now follow my orders and be my spy. Don't worry, I'm not telling you to betray that pedo snake. Just do my works as his own. Lastly, get some books on mythology for me, Toby said, and Kobayashi raised an eyebrow to them all, but sighed and rubbed the back of his head. Fine, fine. Wouldn't want to go after the brat so fast anyway. Not like I'm looking forward to getting chewed out by Sume anyway. Just get me out of here, Kobayashi said, and Toby easily touched his hand. Kobayashi watched in awe as he was being sucked away. Toby quickly absorbed Kobayashi and showed his Sharingan before making it twist. Time to go, he said before sucking himself away into the wormhole. The prison would be in high alerts the next day. Back in the fields, Toby appeared, startling Ayakamaru from her post as he dropped to the ground. Toby quickly dropped Kobayashi from his wormhole and turned around. Be happy, Mutt, he said to her while Ayaka smiled. About time, Kobayashi. Come on, we have stuff to do. Like changing you out of that S, Ayaka said, and Kobayashi looked at his attire. I guess you're right. Well, looking forward to working with you. You might be a new Uchiha, but you're a good one in my book, Kobayashi said, running off while Toby snickered. I wonder about that, he said before disappearing with himself and Sato. With Yugao, Tayuya groaned and dropped to the floor along with Ino, Tenten, Haku, Hinata and Sakura. All the girls huffed before Tayuya got to her feet. Damn Pink Bee. Why did you drag me down? Tayuya asked, and Sakura growled. Me. You're the one who can't hold back a damn punch, Sakura said, rubbing her jaw while Tayuya looked at her incredulously. Damn it, I thought you might be tough like real Kunoichi. You really just know how to throw some kunai and make traps. Listen up, that stupid kunai rain with explosion tags was pathetic. Easily avoidable despite its destruction. Damn it, I hate girls like you. In war, no one's going to hold you hand. Why Naruto doesn't kick you out I don't know, Tayuya huffed, not realizing that she said Naruto's name. Sakura fumed and growled. At least I'm not the one who was with AS rank Sannin criminal. Who are you to look down on me? Sakura asked, and Tayuya growled. She balled her fists before Yugao patted her on the shoulder. She turned back to see Yugao shaking her head. Tayuya bit her lips enough to make it be. Whatever, she said, walking off while Sakura pouted. I wasn't that bad, she said, more to herself than anyone else while others merely sighed. Though you don't act like a Kunoichi, Tenten said under her breath, but everyone caught it. What was that? Sakura asked in a shout, and Tenten growled. Sakura-san, you don't act like a Kunoichi. You don't train, you don't practice, you suck at everything except tactics. Those only make up for so much. It's no wonder you couldn't stop Sasuke. Naruto and Kiba-kun had to do it. I never want to see that again, Kiba-kun in bandages in the hospital. Him groaning in pain because of a mission. Right, Ino? Tenten asked, turning to Kiba's second girlfriend. Ino looked at Sakura and honestly nodded. That's right. I stopped playing around and I took my training seriously. I'm not gonna see Kiba like that again, Ino said, and Sakura growled before Yugao clapped her hands. Alright girls, that was a good first day. Go home and get some rest. Right, Hana, Kurenai? Yugao to the barely tired Chunin and Jonin. Both nodded their heads while Kurenai watched Tayuya leave. She quickly followed while Hana sighed. I see Tayuya's point, though I think something must be done about Sakura. Either she needs to wise up or she gets kicked out. What do you think, Yugao? Hana asked, and Yugao sighed. She's 15 right now. If Sakura can't do something, then I'm afraid that she's out. These times are the times when shinobi and kunoichi should almost be reaching their primes. They begin to draw on their full potential. I don't know, but let's think about this tomorrow, Yugao said, and Hana nodded her head while she left to go home. With Itachi, the ex-Anbu captain looked at the plenty of tired Anbu at his feet and sighed while he turned off his Sharingan. Genma whistled while Itachi brushed a hand through his hair. He sighed for another time and leaned on the side of the waterfall. Nothing too hard, I guess, but Sasuke's been in there for a long time. Much longer than I was, Itachi said while Genma rubbed his head. I hope you knew what you were doing handing him that contract. Not that I would really care, but you never know. He's grown up though, hasn't he? Genma asked, and Itachi raised an eyebrow. How was he before? Itachi asked and Genma sweet-dropped. You don't need to know that, he said and Itachi narrowed his eyes before staring at the cavern. He shook his head at his little brother even though he wasn't there. That bad, huh? Well, isn't that much to be desired? Itachi asked himself in thought before he saw a shadow. He stood to his feet and so did Genma. Both watched as Sasuke came out of the cave with a kunai in his hand. A bit of, was on it and his clothes were in tears. Sasuke huffed and fell down. Is that supposed to happen? Genma asked while Itachi picked up Sasuke and placed him on his back. Not really, but I don't mind. I'll take him home. See you later, Genma, Itachi said before Genma stopped him. He held out a scroll and gave it to Itachi. Try and teach that to Sasuke. He's mellowed out slightly now and I think he's finally earned this, Genma said while Itachi nodded and walked away with a smile on his face. With Naruto, the blonde was still at the Hokage mansion signing some request forms from the weapons manufacturers. He had a lot of things to do even for this idea to work for him. Having Itachi and Fu with him would be risky. Hell, it would be but the idea that it might work really seemed to make the blonde happy. This was his first war. He knew that everything was an experience, but he was still rather scared. Naruto leaned back from his chair and sighed as he looked up at the ceiling. It's getting late. I should go home. Just like everyone else. Either that or go to sleep in the Hokage mansion. I know, see how Bar-chan feels, Naruto said to himself as he stretched, feeling the bones in his back snap into place. He sighed in relief before the door opened. Naruto raised an eyebrow to see Sarutobi come through with a smile on his face. Hey Gigi, Naruto said and Sarutobi waved to him. Hello Naruto-kun. I assume you're doing well. Sarutobi asked, taking a seat on the couch in the office. It felt weird to be the one sitting on the couch while seeing someone else do the paperwork. How he had longed to see the day that Naruto would take the hat and be the Hokage. It really amazed him that he was even alive to see the day as well as have one so young be the Hokage. I'm doing great. Just making some arrangements. Also, I see why you complain. Even with the Cage Bunshin, I still think I should sign some doents myself and keep the order. It really is taxing. Not nearly as much free time as I'd like, Naruto said and Sarutobi nodded. I agree, but you've got clones working in the training grounds, right? He asked and Naruto nodded. All the time. I've been bombarded by memories of every single last pain you can think of. It's a wonder that I'm conscious, Naruto said, making Sarutobi give an elderly laugh. I see. Well, that's real great for you, Hokage-sama. I understand that you are changing the academy. Along with the D-rank missions. You should see it. When the civilians learned of it, most were pissed because they couldn't get out of chores, Sarutobi said and Naruto raised an eyebrow. The new schedule was already put into place. I didn't expect it that fast, Naruto said and Sarutobi nodded his head before someone came in. That's right, and it's outrageous, Hokage-sama, Iruka said out of nowhere. Naruto and Sarutobi widened their eyes to Iruka's presence while the scared Chunin huffed. Getting new books on new subjects is just a hassle for the academy now. You should have seen the looks on students' faces when we told them about the new schedule. Konohamaru jumped on top of the table and yelled, finally Nissan is making a real shinobi academy. It was so outrageous, but all the boys and girls like it, Iruka said and Naruto laughed as he rubbed the back of his head. Is that right? Naruto asked and Iruka nodded. Very good job, Hokage-sama, Iruka bowed and Naruto waved it off. Naruto's fine, Iruka-sensei. I'm glad they all like it, Naruto said and Iruka nodded while chuckling. It's so weird. The young blonde idiot who would always yell to the village that he would be Hokage and make everyone recognize him, the same one who wouldn't or couldn't stay awake for one lesson, is behind that desk wearing that hat and those robes. Naruto, you've grown so much, Iruka said and Naruto blushed before looking off. But I'm putting us all in danger. Just because I didn't want to hand Fu-chan over, we're going to war. I'm glad the village backs me up, but the people who might How do I explain to their families that they gave their lives all for the life of one person? Naruto said and Sarutobi could see the stress of the job coming to Naruto. Well, you'll just have to make that not happen. It might seem hard, but you can do it. We know you can. Who's more unpredictable than you? Iruka asked and Naruto snorted. Someone who loves meat, loves being a pirate, with a straw hat and rubber powers, that's who. Naruto said, making the too sweet drop at who the blonde might be talking about, but shook it off. Okay. Iruka asked while Sarutobi shrugged his shoulders. Naruto sighed and rubbed the back of his head. Sarutobi turned his head to the picture of Minato Namikaze smiling in a Hokage photo, and right next to him was Naruto Uzumaki giving a simple smile with his blue eyes gleaming. You were so happy when you took that picture, Sarutobi said, and Naruto shrugged while getting to his feet. I guess, he answered, and the three decided to stay in the room and talk for a bit to pass the already late time. With Takagakure, the leader of Taki, was surrounded by shinobi who were cheering while throwing their swords, kunai and daggers into the air. A small fire was burning underneath a large tree while Horiyofira grinned and held up 3 bottles of water. Taki is a shinobi village. We don't back down to anyone who takes from us. Konoha has stolen our Jinchuriki. We will not stand for this insolence, he yelled, and all the shinobi and Kunoiki of Taki yelled out in a fierce cheer while Horio turned around. The hero's water is our source. We will not lose. Konoha shall know the might of Taki. Generations shall look back on this day and realize that Taki stood up to Konoha. Take your portions of the hero's water and train. Train to fight in this war with our allies from Kuma no Kuni and Shimo no Kuni, he shouted out, and everyone cheered as one by one they all took their water portions. It wouldn't be long. This is little war that Taki wanted to play, not knowing they were just the pawns in a little game. We also have to thank them, Horio said, turning to the 3 Akatsuki members Kisame, Sasori and Konan, who were merely watching the old man yell his mouth off. He doesn't know when to shut up, does he? Kisame asked while Sasori tried to ignore the stupid pep talk that the old man was giving to his village. It's war. What would you expect? Well, so long as these fools don't get in our way, then that will be fine, Sasori said before he grinned. I'll have plenty more things to add to my collection of puppets, he said while Konan leaned up. It matters not. We have our mission. Let's go, you two. We'll move when they move and not before. Taki has agreed that we may do what we want so long as they win and we get the Jinchuriki, Konan said, and Kisame turned to her skeptically. You don't really think that Taki's gonna beat a great nation, do you? Even with us, I doubt they would last that long, Kisame said, and Konan narrowed her eyes before turning around. That's the point, Kisame, she said, walking off while Kisame and Sasori turned to each other and followed her. Somewhere else, Shibuki raced through the trees in a breakneck pace. Taki was going down the drain. This wasn't the place that his father had envisioned. It all happened because he was too damn young to be the leader. That old goat Horio took it as responsibility to lead Taki better while Shibuki grew up, and like the useless idiot that he felt like, Shibuki believed it all. He growled before stopping for a bit. I've got to get to Konoha. Tell him to not destroy Taki. I hope they will listen to me. This isn't right what Taki's doing. Fu, do you even still think of your old friend? Shibuki wondered before he hopped off at his fastest pace. He would save Taki and he would be its leader. He couldn't bear it to see Taki destroyed. Awagakure. Onoki grinned as he allowed an informant to leave his office. So Taki was going to war with Konoha. This might just be the chance he was waiting for. That stupid Earth Daimyo being friends with the Fire Daimyo was a pain in the A, but this. Oh, this would make it so much better. He now had the perfect reason for getting back at Konoha. Onoki snapped his fingers and a shinobi dropped to the ground. Send Taki a note. Iwa would like to offer some assistance, Onoki said, and the shinobi nodded before leaving the room while Onoki looked out the window. Well, Minato Namikaze, let's see how your son fares now. It won't be as easy as you think, Onoki said before grinning to himself. He didn't know why, but he was in a real good mood right now. Meanwhile, Kuretsuki narrowed her eyes from behind the door of the Tsuchikage mansion. She sighed and balled her fists before leaving. This wasn't going to go good at all. Next morning, Konoha, Naruto and Kasumi were sitting in a training ground next to each other. The two smiled at each other while Kasumi laid on Naruto's shoulder. Kyubi-sama, Nanabi-san and Nibi-san called us out here, right? She asked, and Naruto nodded his head. He wondered what the issue was, as he could somehow feel that the paperwork was growing the more he stayed away from it. Yeah, I wonder what's the matter, Naruto, and on that note all 3 glorious Bayu came out from their places and smiled to Naruto and Kasumi. Thank you for coming, Naruto-kun, Kyubi said, and the young Hokage nodded as he got to his feet while pulling up Kasumi as well. No problem, Kyubi-chan. What's the matter that involves Kasumi and I? Naruto asked, and the three women turned to each other before sighing. It's time you learned, Nanabe said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Kasumi did the same and Nibi finished. Because Naruto-kun is capturing the sentient swords as well as Kasumi being the carrier of the light, Tsukasa, then we feel that you both deserve the right to know, she said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. Know what? He asked, and Kyuubi's eyes showed her seriousness. Know what happened between us, the Beiyu, the Rikudo Sennin and Sato Saranzo, Kyuubi said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. Kasumi widened her eyes as both felt that they were in for the story of a lifetime. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.